opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes. And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
Wow, lawmakers on Capitol Hill calling out the presidents of 3 elite universities there during that heated congressional hearing. It happened yesterday. They accused them of not doing enough to address the spike in anti-Semitism and threats to students on their campuses. Let's bring in Florida Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz, who serves on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. That was incredibly revealing. I'll get your reaction first to those university leaders not being able to easily label this for what it is, and a very clear example of harassment that Elise Stefanik was presenting to them. What was your reaction to what you heard?
Yeah, so my first reaction is Congresswoman Stefanik did a great job asking someone a softball question and confusing the hell out of them. I mean, this was the easiest question. Is calling for the genocide of Jews harassment? And someone actually answered back and said, well, it depends on what the context is. What do you mean? The context of what? How we kill them? How we commit the genocide? That's the context, right? There was another question that said to, I believe, the president of Harvard, that would you want a neo-Nazi to attend Harvard? And they said, well, it's not with our values, but we have a wide range of thought. Really? We want to include Nazis in the wide range of thought? So they all 3 of them, if there was a course taught at Ivy League schools, if you want to be a president of the university, all 3 of them would have failed that course. They are a terrible example for their students, and the boards of these schools should watch that hearing and decide if they should stay in their jobs, because the idea that they came to Congress and made it worse. They made it worse. I expected them to come and be like, listen, we were a little slow reacting. We're working on it now. Here are the steps. But they actually made it worse and made Jews even more uncomfortable when they can't say advocating for the killing of Jews is harassment.
Well, that's a problem. Hearing you say it like that, that's very easy to see and hear that there's a major problem on these college campuses. And it was very clearly on display in that hearing room yesterday, which is why there are some who are now demanding that there be consequences for these universities and their leaders' actions. This was more from Elise Stefanik. She came on this network earlier, and she's actually calling for those university presidents to be fired. Listen.
What was probably the most tragic aspect of the hearing to me was there were a number of Jewish students from those schools in the audience, sitting behind them, and to watch just the fear as they're listening to the presidents of these universities fail to answer a basic question of moral clarity, it was abysmal. They don't deserve the dignity of resigning. They need to be fired.
Congressman, do you agree with that? Are you calling for the same?
Yeah, I mean, they either need to be fired or resign. Either way, I mean, what's the difference of how they go so long as they go? I mean, literally, that was presidential, that was university presidential malpractice yesterday, what you saw them do in that hearing. What did they do, no prep for this hearing? This wasn't a tough question. This was an easy question. I think Congresswoman Stefanik had probably a list of questions. She didn't think she'd be stuck on one question. She probably thought she'd get some easy yeses and move on. But they couldn't answer yes. The context of the killing of Jews matters. What, is it by the ovens or by mass firing squad? Is that the context that those university presidents were talking about? It was a despicable display of behavior. And by the way, if I were a federal taxpayer watching that hearing, I would want none of my taxpayer dollars going to these universities so long as those people are in charge.
Real quick, Congressman.